From R.D. Smothers Wealth Management, this is The Retirement.
When you retire, if you want an exciting life, you need a boring investment strategy.
Matters.
If you enter into retirement without a plan for income, you're not retired, you're simply unemployed.
Podcast.
Hey, this is your host, Dale Smothers, and you're listening to the Retirement Matters Podcast. My hope is that you will find the information you need in every single show on how to do one of the three things: either saving more money more efficiently, planning better for your future where you can live in retirement worry-free, or my favorite, how you can live a happy and fulfilled life in this life you have been given. We know that your time is valuable and we appreciate you spending it listening to this episode of the Retirement Matters Podcast. On this episode of the Retirement Matters Podcast, we go into dividend investing, what it means, and a couple of myths around dividend investing, things that you need to be aware of before you go down that journey, and why we believe that it takes a lot more than just investing in strong dividends to make an income portfolio work. We talk a lot about the volatility of the stock market on this show. The Retirement Matters Podcast is built for those who are entering into income phase, and with income phase comes the phenomenon where losses hurt you more than gains help you. One of the misconceptions around dividends is that it actually adds to your total return, but in reality, it is inside of the total return, and a lot of times we actually see the dividend payout reduce the appreciation of the stock price. For this reason, we believe that dividend investing is far more complex than what a lot of financial gurus give it credit for, and because of that, we have to balance that complexity with diversification. We talk about all of this and more in this episode. Now, before we jump into the episode, I want you to know that we are very much appreciative of your support over the last few years on this show. We are in the process of mixing a few things up in the way the show is laid out, in the way that we are delivering guests to you on this podcast. As things change here, we hope to make them only better. But we can't know if we're doing the right job or a good job at all without you giving us some reviews. So we would love an opportunity to hear back from you, whether that be through an honest review here on the podcast streaming service of your choice, or if you shoot us an email. Contact at RDS Wealth. We'd love to hear more about what you like to hear about. And of course, if there's anything that we can do to help you along your retirement journey, please give us a call, 270-600-PLAN. Someone on the team will be back in touch with you to either set up an in-person meeting here in one of our two offices in South Central Kentucky, close and very located, one of those to Nashville, Tennessee, or perhaps via Zoom, where we help clients from all over the country achieve the retirement they've always imagined, and ultimately helping them retire the way they desire and walk away from the worries of the stock market. We would love an opportunity to do that with you, but for now, we're very pleased that you're here and listening to the show. If you haven't already, don't forget to leave an honest review and a rating. Like, subscribe, follow this podcast, and share it if you find it interesting to those on your social media. With all of that out of the way, let's get to today's episode titled, Is Dividend Investing Right for You? Enjoy the show. Good morning to you. I hope you're doing well and you are ready to start discussing all things retirement matters. Today, I'm coming with a very specific topic on dividend investing and some myths that surround dividend investing. We're going to go into the details about what dividend investing is and why it may or may not be a good strategy for you as you enter into the income phase of retirement. I also hope to break down a little bit clearer what it means to be a dividend company versus a growth company and how those two differ. We'll go back to Warren Buffett and some of his philosophies, and even maybe jump into some of his mentor, Benjamin Graham's ideas around investing. So I think we have a really nice show in store, and I can't wait to jump into every bit of that. But before we do, we're going to jump into the pause for positivity. And man, this is a good one. So I'm going to tell you this story. Again, the Pause for Positivity is a section of our show every week where we come to you with a positive piece of information, whether it be a news story or it is a little bit of insight on how we can look at our life and get better as human beings, and ultimately how to shine our light a little bit brighter for those around us, making their day brighter because they interacted with us. We like to talk at RDS Wealth amongst our team about impacting individuals in a positive way, and that is what our goal is here at RDS Wealth. This story goes hand in hand and really gives us a little bit of insight and a secret on how we can obtain a live happy lifestyle. We talk about living happy in retirement. We assist retirees in making sure they don't have to worry about the stock market. They can walk away from those worries and worry now more about living happy in retirement and the ability to focus on things that become purpose for them, focus on people that are their priority, what they would consider precious in their life. That's what we do on a daily basis with retirees. But you are going to interact people. We are going to interact with people on a daily basis that we may never actually go into business with, and we are going to have the opportunity to impact them in a positive way simply by the way we act, the way we smile at them, the way we don't smile at them, the way that we maybe speak to them or don't speak to them. These things are going to impact them and their story, and if done appropriately and if done with intention, we can make this world brighter day by day with one person at a time. But how do we do that? I think there is a lot of wisdom in this story that we're about to tell. So the story goes like this. There was a first grade teacher who wanted to teach her children how to obtain happiness in life. And to do this, she decided to do an experiment where she asked every first grade student in the school, which was about 150 students, to blow up a balloon and write their name on the balloon. They had to write their name on their own balloon and then turn in the balloons to her throughout the day. That evening, when all the students went home, she took all of those balloons and threw them into the hallway outside of the classrooms in front of all of the teachers' rooms. And when the students came in the next morning, the teacher told the students that she wanted them to all go find their very unique balloon with their name on the balloon. Go find it and hold it. They were going to be given 5 minutes to find their balloon. And as you can imagine, total chaos ensued. Now, you've got 100 plus students running around in the hallway that are all looking for these balloons. They pick up the balloon, they see that it's not their name, and they throw it back down. There was not a single student who had located his or her balloon after the 5-minute time had elapsed. Not a single student had found their balloon. So she decided to redo this experiment. And this time, instead of finding your own balloon, she told the students that every balloon you pick up, I want you to see whose name is on it, and then turn to that student and hand them their balloon. So this time, instead of finding your balloon, take the balloon that you find and then go find the person that belongs to. Within 2 minutes, every student had their balloon. Standing at the edge of the hallway, the balloon in front of them with their name on the balloon. Every balloon was picked up from the hallway. And she began to explain a life lesson that would shape the lives of every single student who listens and applies that lesson to their life. You see, the lesson that she wanted to bring forth to every student in that hallway that morning was that if you will treat happiness the same way you treat the balloon, life will start to unfold. In other words, if you go through life looking for your happiness, you are likely to never find it. However, if you will spend your life giving other people their happiness, you will find yours in the process. Just like the balloon, rather than looking for the one that has your name on it, hand the one that you find to the person it belongs to. That is how we should treat each and every one of our fellow men and women that we encounter every day. We all have something that we can give to other people, and if we will do this correctly, and we will take it with an intention to make the world brighter, we will all live in a much happier place and a state of mind. We are called to share the love of Christ to those around us, and this little balloon illustration is a wonderful way to visualize how that is done. And to be real frank with you, we don't have to look much farther than when the Master told us that those who seek to save their life will lose it, but those who lay down their life for his name's sake will find theirs. That's what we're all called to do. We're here to love our neighbor as ourselves. The golden rule. No greater treasure do we have than that alone. Now, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about a little bit of earthly treasure here, about something called dividend investing. And we're going to start by explaining exactly what that is. If you're not familiar with dividend investing, I think you're going to find a lot of value in this segment of the show. Don't go anywhere. We're coming back in 60 seconds.
You're listening to the Retirement Matters Show with Dale Smothers. If you'd like to listen to past episodes and find exclusive content and full-length interviews, search for the Retirement Matters podcast on the podcast platform of your choice, or visit us online at rdswealth.com. Unfortunately, for many retirees, they're simply trading in the stress of work for the stress and worry about their financial future. At RD Smothers Wealth Management, our goal is to help build you a retirement plan that provides a smooth transition away from the time clock and into the time of your life. So even if you're still waiting on work retirement, we want to help you retire now from the worry of retirement funding. If you'd like to chat with a member of our team, you can do so absolutely free by calling 270-600-PLAN. That's 270-600-PLAN. Visit us online at rdswealth.com and be sure to sign up for our free weekly newsletter.
All right, welcome back to the show. The Retirement Matters Show is brought to you by RDS Wealth. My name is Dale Smothers. I'm the founder and president of RDS Wealth. I've got an entire team here ready to help you build the retirement you've always imagined. We talk about a specific time in your retirement journey called the income phase, where typically around after the age of 59 and a half, you need to be looking at getting very serious about income in your retirement years. One of the ways that we help a retiree is generating income from their retirements. And one of the most quintessential and tried and true methods of generating income from a retirement portfolio is dividend investing. Now, I'm not talking about reinvestment of dividends. I'm talking about investing in companies that pay strong and hopefully appreciating dividends over their lifetime. So let's discuss Warren Buffett's rule of thumb about buying a stock in general. Warren Buffett is famous for having two different rules. He says rule number one is don't lose money in investing. Rule number two is don't forget rule number one. Now, in income phase, what this means about don't lose money is never sell a security at a loss to generate the income you desire. You should never be selling a stock lower than you bought it just to generate the income, because the instant you sell it, you have now locked in your losses. There is something called a paper loss in investing, where yes, on paper you have a loss, but in theory you still possess the same amount of a company, so you haven't quote unquote lost money yet. Now, that is very good for us to talk around in the philosophy of it all. But when it comes to the practicality, when it comes to the gut punch that we feel when we see a paper loss displayed on the paper called a statement, well, it's just not that easy to grin and bear it. Let me say it like that. But what we can know is that if we're buying companies like dividend yielding companies, then even in down times, we do see dividends still coming in. So let's talk about a dividend and what it is. And again, we're going to probably bring up Warren Buffett one more time by the end of the show. A dividend is a return on your investment that is considered something called retained earnings. Now, if you're lost here, don't get too frustrated. It can become a little complicated, but my goal is to communicate to you in a way where you understand. Okay, so let's say that we had a lemonade stand, and I'm going to bring this down to that level, a dividend from a lemonade stand. And let's say that we each, let's say me and you are partners together. I own 50%, you own 50%. And let's say that lemonade stand made $1,000. And let's say that we're really focused on growing our lemonade stand, and we are going to, over this period of time, let's say a quarter, it made $1,000, and we're going to reinvest every dime of that $1,000 back into purchasing more lemonade, because we know that we have the people who desire lemonade. We just can't make enough of it. So we are going to invest all $1,000 back into more supply, maybe even build more lemonade stands down the road, and we are going to not take any of that money home. Now, that is one way to handle the money that you make as a profit for a company. You take it all and you reinvest it back into the company. If you and I decided to do that, then we would be classified a growth company rather than a dividend-paying company. On the other hand, if we decided to take that $1,000 and begin splitting it up in different ways to where we've got a little bit of savings in the bank, and maybe we take a small distribution that quarter, we would be considered a dividend company. And it may look a little bit like this. Let's say that we take the $1,000 profit, which has already accounted for the cost of goods that we sold, and let's say that we put $300 back into the business. We don't put the full 1,000, we put 300 back in, and we're going to ramp up just a little bit of production. We're going to buy a little bit more lemonade supplies. And then with the $700 that's left, we decide to take $500 and put it in the bank, just in case we have a bad quarter or a bad year of lemonade. I mean, I know we just came through winter, but it's coming back around this year, and when it is, our lemonade sales go down a little bit. So we decide to tuck a little bit of money away. And now we are going to take our $200 of what we would consider dividend in this case, and we're going to split it between me and you, where you get 100 and I get 100. That is a dividend. At the very elementary level, that is what is going on in companies like Johnson & Johnson, in companies like Walmart, Procter & Gamble, Caterpillar, Cisco, you can name a ton of them, Nike, AT&T. There's a lot of these companies. Chevron is a good example that is handling their money just like this every single year. They are paying out dividends, and that dividend is declared for the shareholder to understand this is how much you are getting back, because you, as a shareholder of these companies, are a rightful owner of a percentage of the company. In our lemonade example, we were each shareholders. You had 50% of the shares. I had 50% of the shares. When we go to companies like Caterpillar or Walmart or Lowe's, it's very unlikely that you have anywhere close to 50% of the shares, but you might have 0.1% of the shares. And at that point, you would receive 0.1% of the declared dividend. You get that back because you hold the stock. We don't care at that point what the stock price has done. You're still getting your income. A good example would be, let's imagine a company, just some made-up company, is priced at $100 a share. And let's say that they've come out and announced a 4% dividend on the current price that they're at now. That means you're getting back $4 throughout the course of the year. Every quarter, you may receive $1. And let's imagine that during quarter one, the price per share is $100. Well, you're right on par with 4%. But if the price per share drops to $50, you still get your $1 in quarter two. The difference is now your dividend has went from 4% to 8%. The stock price dropping means dividends rise in percentage, but the dollar amount that comes in remains the same. Now, this is a little confusing, perhaps because we're doing this over the radio, but I hope you understand where you can maybe start to count on a little bit of income coming in from a stock, even if it has volatility. The only difference is if you have extreme volatility in a portfolio full of dividend-yielding stocks, you may find that a downturn market for a prolonged period of time, like in 2008, 2009, ends up leaving you with far less income than you could have ever imagined would happen. We're going to get into that right after we get back from the short break.
You're listening to the Retirement Matters Show with Dale Smothers. Dale is the founder and president of R.D. Smothers Wealth Management. We specialize in building retirement plans that allow you to walk away from the worry of running out of money. If you'd like to chat with a member of our team, you can do so absolutely free by calling 270-600-PLAN. That's 270-600-PLAN. Visit us online at rdswealth.com and be sure to sign up for our free weekly newsletter.
All right, that was a good reset. Let's jump right back into where we left off. Dividend investing stocks and what takes place in a down market. Let me explain one more time that if you are investing in dividends, it's often referred to as a way to never touch your principal. I'm going to buy these stocks, they're going to pay me a dividend, and I never have to worry about touching my principal because I'm just living on the dividends. Well, in theory, that makes a lot of sense. But in practice, when a market is on a downturn, it could cause to a lot of fear, a lot of trepidation, a lot of bad mistakes made in the market, and certainly could lead to less income than you could have ever imagined possible. The reason is this. Why there may be fear and trepidation in the market if market takes a downturn and you're reaping your dividend is just like we used in the example before. $100 a share stock paying you $4 of a dividend, well, that's a 4% dividend yield. But if the stock price goes to $50 a share now, you've just lost a half of your portfolio. And yes, like we said at the beginning of the show, it is a paper loss, but it is still hard to see. And yes, we are still getting our dividend, but what happens if you panic and make a decision to sell in that loss? Well, you have just broken Warren Buffett's rule number 1 and rule number 2 by taking a loss in the market when you are supposed to wait until it comes back. But Dale, I just can't wait. I mean, I've lost a half of my portfolio, and what happens if this company goes under? And that's a real threat. And it's one that you should certainly take seriously. In income phase, it becomes even more detrimental. A company going bankrupt that you have a lot of your money in means that you get pennies on the dollar when all is settled. And it could take months, if not years, to get that money back. What we see is too many people who believe this myth to say, I can invest in dividend-yielding stocks and they are safe. They're not 100% safe. They are certainly reliable. And we at RDS Wealth, if we ever employ just a little bit of this dividend strategy into a portfolio, we would be looking for companies that have paid increasing dividends even through downturn markets. But even those companies are not safe. By the sense of the word, it is certainly not risk-off money. It's low risk, but it's still risk. And when risk hits there, it hits hard. Another idea is that dividends are guaranteed, and they're certainly not guaranteed. At any time, a company can declare to lower or raise its dividend, and they owe the shareholder no explanation. A lot of times as a CEO, that decision will be made perhaps to cut the dividend because by cutting the dividend, it allows the stock price to increase. Did you know that when the dividend is paid out, it actually decreases the stock price? Yeah, so let's imagine that if the stock was $100 a share and it paid the $1 dividend, then in theory, that stock with no activity in the market at all, with no day-to-day trading, that stock would go to $99 per share because it paid a $1 per share dividend. Now, this ex-dividend date of when this takes place a lot of times gets absorbed into normal day-to-day market movement.
and we don't typically see it be affected by much. But in the event of my lemonade stand, a small company like that, it would affect that stock price a great deal. Larger companies, not as much. But it's a tool and a tactic that CEOs can use to drive their stock price higher by lowering or eliminating the dividend. And so if a CEO's compensation is built around how the stock price does, and you are banking on the dividend of that exact same company stock, then it's a good chance that you guys are working with two different methods in mind. In other words, you need to be very careful not to have all of your eggs in this dividend basket. Now, one of the other myths that we hear a lot of about dividends is the taxability of dividends. Oh, dividends come to us with lower taxes. Well, that is true as long as that money is not in a IRA. If you have dividends coming to you via IRA or 401k, well, unfortunately, when you pull those out, it's getting taxed the same as if you had put it into a CD. And any dividend that you take out that would be considered non-qualified dividends also get a heightened scrutiny on their taxation. So when you're doing this dividend investment strategy and you're yielding, say, a 4% dividend, but you're in a 25% tax bracket, if you're in the wrong types of dividend, well, you've just cut your dividend yield from 4% to now 3%. Now, all of this gets very confusing on the radio, and I understand that. This is unlike many shows that we ever do because I love telling stories. But when we come to dividend investing, the reason I'm hitting this so hard is because we had a client in the office just a couple of days ago who came in and said, Dale, I want to be able to live on just my dividends. And while that is certainly an option, it's probably not the most viable option for a retiree. So here's what we're going to do. We've got about 6 minutes left in the show. We're going to take a very short break. I'm going to reset, and we're going to come back and talk to you about how you should be building a retirement portfolio that, yes, of course, includes dividend-paying stocks, but it certainly is not built entirely around dividend-paying stocks. You need a mixture of this, a mixture of that, and we're going to go into that recipe a little bit deeper right after this.
You're listening to the Retirement Matters Show with Dale Smothers. Dale is the founder and president of R.D. Smothers Wealth Management. We specialize in building retirement plans that allow you to walk away from the worry of running out of money. If you'd like to chat with a member of our team, you can do so absolutely free by calling 270-600-PLAN. That's 270-600-PLAN. Visit us online at rdswealth.com and be sure to sign up for our free weekly newsletter.
All right, welcome back. So we were talking about dividend-paying stocks and why you should not build your entire income portfolio around dividend-paying stocks. There are times where dividends are cut. There are times where the stock price itself takes a dip and emotions get the best of us, and we have to sell that stock, or God forbid that the stock itself is completely bankrupt. And while the dividend is paying, the ship is sinking. It's very equivalent to the violinist on the Titanic. Yes, the dividends are great, but the company is going under, and it seems as if no one wants to fix it. That has happened in recent history, as a matter of fact. What we want to do is we want to build a portfolio that is immune to day-to-day market movement. In other words, eliminating volatility. We want to build a portfolio that has a degree of certainty around the income that it can generate. And we want to build a portfolio that can last as long as you do, meaning we aren't running out of money until at least we have passed away, no matter what the market does. Now, I'm certain that you have very specific goals, ambitions, desires in your mind right now about retirement and what it should look like. And that's why someone on the team sits down with you specifically addressing those things and making sure we're building the investment plan to achieve your legacy goals, to achieve your tax goals, to achieve your plan for income. Right? The investment decisions come after we understand more about what your goals and ambitions are. What is your income plan? So to say that dividend investing stock is good or bad, well, to be real frank with you, that's malpractice for a good income advisor. Because an income phase advisor has to start with income. If you don't have income in retirement, you're not retired, you're simply unemployed. And we make sure at RDS Wealth that we start with what is important, and that is the ability to generate the income that you need, knowing when you should take Social Security, and from there being able to build around all of your pensions and other investments that you have saved that generate perpetual income to fill up what we call the income gap. And once we've understood what your income gap is, we can begin to fill that with the investments and generating the income necessary from those investments to last as long as you need it to. We do this by building a risk-on, risk-off portfolio mix that gives us the ability to take income from the account even in years when the market is down without selling securities at a loss. Following Warren Buffett's rule of number 1, don't lose money. Number 2, don't forget rule number 1. These 2 rules are what we go into with clients, making sure that the client is taken care of even in market downturns. Now, everyone has different objectives, opinions, desires. So when we begin to craft this risk-on, risk-off portfolio mix, we're looking at things that align with those goals. We will employ all tools at our disposal, and as a fiduciary independent advisor who specializes in income, we have every tool that you can imagine to generate the maximum amount of income as tax efficiently as possible from your portfolio. And we do this in a way to where it makes enough sense to you to know that you can walk away from worrying about the stock market and walk into a retirement the way that you desire and live happy in that retirement. All right, guys, that's the show each and every week. I love getting to talk to you. Today, we went into some detail that we don't typically go into. I'm hoping that next week is a Q&A because we've had a lot of questions come in. We'll hopefully bring a ton of answers to you, and that is some of our most listened to, most downloaded podcast shows is the question and answers. But I hope that this show has brought a little bit of insight to you about this strategy known as dividend investing. And I hope that it has brought a little bit of light to the fact that you just can't go about retiring on your own. You need someone to help you, and we would love an opportunity to be that help for you, a second set of eyes on your investment plan, and a friend to lean on for every other aspect of retirement living. We are here for you, 270-600-PLAN. Until we talk again, whether it's in person or over the radio, always remember, save money, plan well, and live happy in retirement. God bless.
Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management and RD Smothers Wealth Management are not affiliated companies. Investing involves a risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. RD Smothers Wealth Management is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by RD Smothers Wealth Management.